Thousands of years ago, without cranes or computers, ancient civilizations managed to conceive and construct buildings that are impressive, even for today. These are the top 10 lost wonders of the ancient world. Like a 4,000-year-old director's cut, historians and philosophers throughout antiquity debated the existence of the lost labyrinth of Egypt. Some claimed they'd seen it. Others insisted it was a myth told through generations. Supposedly, this 3,000-room temple filled with paintings, statues, and hieroglyphics had a roof carved from a single stone and was built in tandem with the Black Pyramid of Pharaoh Amenemhat III around 1800 BCE. According to legend, it inspired Daedalus to create the Labyrinth of Crete, but there was no evidence of it until 1889, when Egyptologist Flinders Petrie discovered a stone plateau measuring 304 by 244 meters, almost 14 football fields. The secrecy of the labyrinth continues today. In 2008, a team of archaeologists performed a scan over the stone that indicated there were rooms and objects consistent with ancient descriptions, but were threatened with sanctions by Egyptian officials when they publicly reported their results. Get Nick Cage or Harrison Ford out there stat! Up second is the Temple of Jerusalem, aka Solomon's Temple, aka the Temple of the Lord. Built in ancient Jerusalem in 957 BCE, this was the first house of worship built upon what is now the epicenter of the Jewish religion, and one of the holiest places on earth, even 3,000 years later. According to Jewish scripture, the temple was commissioned by God himself, who ordered King Solomon to build a permanent resting place for the Ark of the Covenant containing the Ten Commandments. Construction began on the first temple in the 10th century BCE. It was destroyed by the Babylonians in the 6th century BCE. A second Jewish temple was built on the site a few decades later and lasted until the Romans destroyed it in 70 CE. One of the holiest cities on earth was inevitably the site of many conflicts, and the Temple Mount is now home to the Dome of the Rock and the Al-Aqsa Mosque, one of Islam's holiest sites. The Western Wall, which protected the Second Temple, still stands and is one of the most visited sites in the world. Basically the Machu Picchu of Sri Lanka, Sigiriya is a fortress built on top of an extinct volcano. A monastery sat atop the 200-meter plateau from 300 BCE to 477 CE, when King Kasyapa I made it his royal residence. He didn't simply enjoy the 360-degree view. After overthrowing his father and usurping his brother for the throne, he knew an attack was coming, and he wanted the higher ground. The elaborately beautiful gardens, fountains, and frescoes made his stay enjoyable, but the giant lion statue straddling the stairway to the citadel failed to scare his brother away. After Kasyapa's death, Sigiriya became a Buddhist monastery again, until being abandoned in the 1400s. The site was overgrown when British soldiers brought outside attention to it, beginning in 1831. It was named a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1981. If you ever visit, listen closely. You'll likely hear a corny dad whispering, "This place rocks," to his kids. By far the oldest wonder on this list, making it that much more wondrous, is the Great Ziggurat of Ur. Ziggurats were massive stepped structures built in ancient Mesopotamia, and a likely precursor to the pyramid. The GZ of U, that's going to catch on, was built in what is modern-day Iraq in around 2050 BCE by the Sumerian king Ur-Nama. It was 210 feet long and may have been over 100 feet tall, using over 700,000 handmade bricks, each weighing up to 33 pounds. It is a truly staggering accomplishment. It was built as a shrine to Nana, the Sumerian moon god, and citizens believed the gods lived like humans. The ziggurat included a bedchamber, kitchen, and chambers for human servants. Like many ancient structures, it was destroyed and restored several times over in its 4 millennia in existence. But it is in remarkably good condition today, the Tom Brady of the ancient wonders. The statue of Zeus in Olympia was a fitting monument to the king of the gods. At over 40 feet tall, it is more than twice the height of Abraham Lincoln in the Lincoln Memorial. Zeus was built in 450 CE by the master sculptor Phidias, who had previously designed the Parthenon and its statue of Athena. Zeus's skin was made of ivory, his hair and beard clad in gold. This version of him, seated bare-chested on a throne, is how he was represented in art for centuries. Most significantly, it attracted thousands of visitors to the opening dedication of the Pan-Hellenic Olympic Games, during a time when competing games were held. Imagine Michael Phelps winning gold at the Isthmian Games. According to legend, when Phidias completed the statue, he asked Zeus for a sign of approval. The temple was struck by lightning soon after, a thank you fit for the gods. There were a few versions of the Temple of Artemis in the Greek city of Ephesus, with varying opinions on which was better, the Van Halen debate of the ancient world. Building on the original temple began in 550 BCE by master architect Chersiphron of Knossos and his son, and took about a decade to complete. It took one night in 356 BCE for his marvel to be burned down by an arsonist seeking infamy. Mission unfortunately accomplished. Construction on the new version began 6 years later on the exact same spot, and while some claim it was slightly smaller, it was built to look more imposing and allegedly took 120 years to build. Many regarded this temple as the most impressive of the ancient wonders, 425 feet long, 225 feet wide, with 127 60-foot columns. It was twice as big as the Parthenon in Athens. It was destroyed in the 3rd century CE, and the remains weren't discovered by archaeologists until the 1860s. You know you've built something impressive when the type of building takes your name moving forward. That's what happened when the wife of Mausoleum built such a grand monument and tomb for him after he died that afterward any building, especially a large or stately one to house tombs, was called a mausoleum. Built in 353 BC in modern-day Turkey, the mausoleum combined Lycian, Greek, and Egyptian architectural styles and consisted of 3 rectangular layers: a 60-foot base of steps, middle layer of 36 Ionic columns, and a pyramid-shaped roof. In addition to its size, it was made entirely of a striking white marble and decorated with 100 ornate statues and a 20-foot marble 4-horse chariot on top. The Colossus at Rhodes, a bronze statue of the Greek sun god Helios, earned its moniker towering at 108 feet tall. The Statue of Liberty is 150 feet tall and modeled after the Colossus. The Rhodes, not an official nickname, built the statue in celebration of winning a year-long siege against the Macedonians, selling off or melting down the tools and weapons the losers left behind to fund the project. It was designed by Charis the sculptor and was completed in 280 BCE after 12 years. Sadly, it only stood for less than 60 years before toppling during an earthquake. There are no surviving visual records of the statue, so nobody actually knows for sure what it looked like. But it's highly doubtful it was straddling the opening of the harbor as seen in some popular culture. In addition to the tallest statue in the ancient world, it also just inspired me to say Colossus more. Colossus. If you heard a sailor say, "I can see the light," in 270 BCE, he wasn't dying. You were just cruising toward the Lighthouse of Alexandria. The towering beacon at the entrance to the northern Egyptian city's harbors stood at least 310 feet tall and could be seen on the water from up to 30 miles away. The second tallest structure in the world made by human hands, next to the pyramids of Giza, it was commissioned by Ptolemy I Soter and built on a small island off the coast of Alexandria. It took 20 years to complete. It wasn't always a lighthouse, but later writers described throughout the night a sailor on the waves will see a great fire blazing from its summit, and it used a bronze mirror to reflect sunlight, making it visible from even further out. It stood for 1,600 years before being toppled by earthquakes. Scholars aren't positive that the Hanging Gardens of Babylon actually existed, but its ancient descriptions are so magnificent we prefer to believe they did. The concept of gardens, i.e. planting for pleasure and not for food production, was invented close to where the ancient city of Babylon was located, southern Iraq today. Back then, a garden was called a paradise. As the legend goes, the gardens of Babylon were built by King Nebuchadnezzar II around 600 BCE for his homesick wife. So even if the gardens are a myth, this is the very real origin story of guys buying their wives flowers after they mess up. The gardens, consisting of flowers, bushes, and trees, were planted on a huge 75-foot brick terrace and on stone columns, surrounding visitors with exotic colors and smells. Paradise indeed. Aren't you exhausted just thinking about building these incredible structures? Ironic they've been immortalized on this tiny screen. Think we missed a lost ancient wonder? Let us know in the comments below.